Statement A says, ethics for them is instead a cost-benefit calculation involving the demands of individual conscience and the demands of position. Now, we might not need these factors, demands of individual conscience and the demands of position, but let's keep them in mind. Also, the subject here is ethics, but there is another subject being referred to, for them. By the construction of this sentence, the them here refers to something else, another subject, which would be in a preceding statement. For them, these people, whoever this is, ethics is a cost-benefit calculation, involving the mentioned demands. So we start our sequence with statement A. Next up, B says, it concludes that rulers must therefore, in conscience and ethics, subordinate their interests, including their individual morality, to their social responsibility. Now, here we have a connection which is self-evident. Rulers must subordinate their interests, including their individual morality, to their social responsibility, because they have a responsibility to other people. But let's not forget, it concludes is also referring to something else. What we don't know yet, we'll see. But therefore, in conscience and ethics, rulers must, in conscience and ethics, subordinate their interests, including their individual morality. So we get the sense that ethics for them is instead a cost-benefit calculation. Because rulers must subordinate their interests, including their individual morality, their ethics, that is why ethics for them is an cost-benefit calculation. So we find that B actually comes before A. Let's place that here. Let's place A here with a little bit of gap. We might have other statements in between them. Statement C says, casuistry starts out with the insight that the behavior of rulers affects more than themselves and their families. Now, not only will this come before B and A, because this doesn't talk about ethics, this is just talking about rulers. It's on the same subject, but it doesn't have one key aspect in it. Also, we see it here, the behavior of rulers affects more than themselves and their families. It affects the people. So they have a social responsibility. And that is why in conscience and ethics, they must subordinate their interests. So not only does this come before B, we also find a direct connection with B by essence. So let's put C here. C and B are consecutive statements. Statement D says, but this implies that the rules which decide what is ethical for ordinary people do not apply equally, if at all, to those with social responsibility. This is a clear takeaway from statement B. Because rulers must, in conscience and ethics, subordinate their interests, in particular, including their individual morality. So this implies that the rules which decide what is ethical, because they have sacrificed, they have subordinated their interests, their morality, even their conscience and ethics. So the rules which decide what is ethical for ordinary people do not apply equally, if at all, to those with social responsibility. We see the social responsibility connection here also, but that's not necessary. We can see that by essence, B and D are directly connected. Because the rules which decide what is ethical for ordinary people do not apply to those with social responsibility. In other words, rulers. That is why ethics for them is a cost-benefit calculation involving demands of individual conscience, demands of position, etc., etc. So we realize that statement D fits between B and A. B fits here. And that gives us the sequence. The correct answer is C, B, D, A.